Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the end of Macaulay Culkin's child acting career with 1994's Richie Rich.
This ended his child acting career. Was he just done? Tired? Did he want to go out on a good note? Or was this movie just that bad?
Here's the
well-
Java. You know how his acting in Lost in New York, he looked a bit more full of himself compared to the first movie. This is the culmination of that descent.
Wait, hold on. That's not just how he was directed in more of his later childhood movies to have the constant smug look and all that?
Well, I don't know, maybe, but I definitely will argue that his acting felt more sincere in the first Home Alone compared to the second one.
Now, when you say full of
Maybe
himself,
Also,
what do you mean exactly?
Well, the whole thing where, like, for example, when the second movie, the second Home Alone starts, and he's like, yes, like he has, like, compared to how he was in the first movie, Kevin sounds a bit too smug, and I don't know why.
I did notice
well,
that
then-
between other movies like Good Son, Home Alone 2, or what was that other movie he was in?
Me personally, I like to suspect that he did a major crime. I like to suspect that he did a major crime towards a movie studio in regards to child actors. He went through puberty. No.
Yeah, in Page Master, he was always talking. He was always lecturing that Dad. Science says this and this and that.
But
blah, blah, blah.
but we'll have plenty of time to mull over Macaulay Culkin's life choices while we watch the movie. Because hey, Richie Rich, and apparently Macaulay Culkin was paid a lot of money to do the movie. So
Right,
This is
Richie
based on an
Rich,
editing.
another one of Harvey Comics' properties. And just
Yeah,
like Casper,
basically.
this would also apparently get its own direct-to-video sequel.
honestly, I'm surprised. In terms of Macaulay Culkin acting choices, I'm surprised he wasn't in. I'm surprised he wasn't in stuff like Dennis.
From what I have never really read the Richie Rich comics, but from what I can tell, it was basically this kid going on adventures because he could, because he's rich. I
Because
think.
he's rich, yeah. I can't imagine them making a movie like this today because, because I don't think unless you're Tony Stark or a character like him, I'm not quite sure people will be flocking to see a movie about the top 1%.
From what I understand, even the 2011 revival of the comics took a more different action-oriented direction, so... Yeah.
Why did they turn Richie Rich into Johnny Quest?
I don't know the
Guys,
specifics of the
anything.
details. All I know is, like, well, I think Drips might have a point that, you know, some things would have had to have changed with time to actually keep this relevant, or at the very least appealing enough. But hey, you know, we're not here to talk about how Richie Rich has supposedly stayed relevant to this day. Let's take a look at Macaulay Culkin's final child acting movie.
Alright then, so starts right before the Warner Brothers logo shows up.
Skip whatever
3,
seconds of black screen you may have.
Yes, and 3, 2, 1, click. Skip, because that's what people did with this movie.
I missed this logo.
A true classic.
I remember seeing that one the most before all the times I was watching the Willy Wonka 1970s movie on video.
A Silver
Pictures.
Productions.
Wait, is that Joel Silver?
Joel Silver, yeah.
The producer of the Matrix trilogy?
Yes, Joel Silver.
Huh. Interesting.
A Donald Petrie film. Let's see what he did.
Donald Petrie, let's see. He did Mystic Pizza, Opportunity Knocks, Grumpy Old Men, The Favor, The Associate. Oh, Miss Congeniality. I hear that's a good one.
My Favorite Martian. Wait, isn't that the Christopher Lloyd movie?
I don't know. I'll admit I have not
yeah, it
heard
is.
of most of his movies.
And he did Miss Congeniality.
Yeah, I mentioned that.
Oh, you did? Sorry. My Life in Ruin. Little Italy. He made a 2018 movie called Little Italy. Okay, that's one we should do too, hopefully.
Ralph, is that
Wait, is that Ralph Fiennes?
Apparently, they dragged poor Ralph Fiennes into this.
Let me see.
Hang on. Let's check to confirm.
Apparently it's not. Doesn't show here at least.
No, Ralph Fiennes is not in the It's not in the movie. That's actually Jonathan Hyde plays the butler. He is an Australian British actor, English specifically.
Oh hey,
Weird,
he was in Jumanji. He played Van Pelt.
And Samuel Parrish.
It's weird. He really looked like a discount Ralph Fiennes there.
He really did. He was also OJ Bruce Ismay in Titanic. So yeah, this guy's a prolific actor. Although apparently Richie Rich was his first big recognizable film. So...
Yeah, we're watching movies like this at Lost in New York, Home Alone 2. I mean, it really reminds me. Remember when a world like this, and we live in an economy where this looked still somewhat plausible.
Also, Alan
Silvestri.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Music. Also, I don't know about you guys, but I just love these weird aspect ratios where it's not widescreen, but it's also not 4:3. The black bars aren't very thick, so it's not 4:3. I know that.
Well, remember, a lot of these movies were shot in this aspect ratio, but they cropped them into 4:3 when it came to showing them on TV and shit like that. So what they do when they release these movies digitally, they go back to the original masters, and you're just seeing the movie as it was shot.
Well, at least he makes time for his son even while working, which is honestly better than a lot of parents you see in schlocky family movies.
Indeed.
Hey, there he is. Oh, by the way, apparently younger Richie Rich is actually played by Macaulay Culkin's younger brother, Rory Culkin.
Interesting.
Known for his roles in movies such as Scream 4, Lords of Chaos, and You Can Count on Me, Columbus, and M. Night Shyamalan Signs.
It's I love how he's so rich. His servants play baseball with him, even the maid there, and the cook.
Are there any baseball players that you know of, Jova, that cameo in this scene?
Wait, that one. I'm not sure exactly. I'm not the biggest baseball fan. There might be one.
It says here, Reggie Jackson as himself. Who's Reggie Jackson?
Oh, right. He's an American former professional
baseball. So there you go. That guy right there. God, it's not on screen now anymore.
Yeah, no. The one with the mustache. I remember him now. Yeah, Reggie Jackson.
That's Reggie Jackson. Aside from that, I don't see anything here.
Which I guess makes sense. He's so rich he can have flipping Reggie Jackson as his baseball coach.
Yeah, from what I can tell, this is Richard Rich's thing. He's rich and he can do what he's basically a little Bruce Wayne, but without the trauma.
Now, not like you can't make a concept out of it. I mean, heck, they managed to make a whole comic out of it. Granted, older comic, but surely there would be a way to adapt this into a good movie. I hope.
I mean, if I were to make a movie about this concept, I would do something I can like either like a movie where he's full of himself at the beginning because of how he was raised and spoiled, but over the course of the movie he learns a lesson in humility.
I gotta say, one of the screenwriters of this movie, Jim Genowine, he had quite a busy 1994. His first script.
Yes, of course. Because as we all know, children are allowed to make business decisions in place of their parents.
As I was saying, his first script was a film called Stay Tuned in 1992 that I have never heard of before. Although apparently it has an animated sequence in it done by, supervised by Chuck Jones.
I'm sure
That's
these
something.
kids won't be as posse or anything.
But 1994 was a very busy year for the guy. There was this film, and then there was 3 others. Getting Even with Dad,
Ooh.
which also had Macaulay Culkin in it.
I thought this was his last one, though.
I guess that came out before this one. Major League 2, and I'm sure you guys will love this one. The Flintstones.
I kind of have a bit of a love-hate relationship with the Flintstones movie. Like, I mean, it has John Goodman as Fred Flintstone, and it actually works. Ooh, I can definitely hear the puberty growing in his voice.
Not just that. I love Socket. Our Socket Rich is going to be the pencils of this movie.
Oh God. Oh my God, Dwibs, have you ever seen? Wait, were you in our Life of Timothy Green commentary, Dwibs?
I don't think so. I mean, and even if I was, I don't remember.
Basically, pencils were like treated like Jesus in that movie.
Yeah. We'll do generations of that at some point.
Yes. Yes. The long forgotten
God.
and hidden in the Bible figure, Pencils Christ.
Oh my God, Culkin was in 3 movies in 1994. Like Dwibs mentioned, Getting Even with Dad. There was The Pagemaster, and yes, also Richie Rich.
Yep. Remember, after the success of the first 2 Home Alone movies, he really was the hot child celebrity for a while.
Although it seems like even before then, he was in like at least 1 movie per year. He was in a movie in 1988, Rock Gibraltar. He was in 2 movies in 1989, See You in the Morning and Uncle Bunk. 2 movies in 1990, Jacob's Ladder and of course Home Alone. 2 in 1991, 1 in 1992, 2 in 1993, and finally 3 in 1994. Like, Jesus, the kid was in a movie every year of his child acting career, it seems.
Wait, what does that mean? Like, the guy was all like, he's the richest kid in the world, and the woman's like, don't you have children, Dave? And I'm like, what does that mean?
What does that
Where
have to
even
do
come
with
from?
anything?
Like, not just that. They keep saying he's the richest kid in the world. Don't you mean his parents are maybe the richest people in the world? Because I'm pretty sure the money he has comes from his parents because he's too young to actually work.
Oh,
You know?
but he's missing something in life. Something money can't buy.
Friends.
Apparently.
I'll just quote one of my favorite scenes from Family Guy season 1. Money doesn't buy happiness. And Stewie's like, oh, I beg to differ. Then he calls 2 people. You, bring me the Wall Street Journal. You two, fight to the death. And he just watches all that stuff. There you go.
I will give it this, though. At least I can buy that, due to his upbringing, he hasn't been able to really make friends, as opposed to Sonic X, which literally states that Chris Thorndike has friends just fine.
Oh yeah, trust me. I get you. With this here, it's one of those things where it's just like, okay, so he's basically a Chris Thorndike without friends. I'm guessing that's what they're going for, because the character as he is written, he's not meant to be a spoiled brat. He's acting relatively nice, all things considered.
Mm-hmm.
Which begs the question, okay, so what is exactly going to be the narrative arc of this movie then?
Richie Rich gets friends.
I guess
maybe there'll be something. Maybe there'll be something where the orphanage is shutting down and he has to save it.
Well, how many movies have there been where there's an orphanage in danger? There's this. There was the first Blues Brothers movie.
I mean,
anything else?
I mean, I'm sure I could probably think of a few movies that have used that, but, the whole need to save insert X building there is, a common trope.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see I can imagine if there was a movie like, oh no, guys, we have to save the the house that the building that sells wooden chairs because my granddad liked wooden chairs, but he died, and I want to keep that legacy alive or something.
Oh my god, the American president!
Wait, I mean, I know they're in America. Okay, this is my thing. They're in America, right? They're in Chicago. Why did you have to specify the American president? Just say the president. I'm sure most people will know what you're talking about.
I think what the scene is implying is that they're friends with presidents all across the world, essentially. They're that big a rich family.
So the joke here is that the parents, because they're rich, they can only think in rich people terms. Like, oh, a party. Oh, something for like a buffet.
Oh, is he homeschooled?
Probably.
You guys can't hear my movie copy, can you?
Nah,
No.
You're fine.
Yeah. Unfortunately, folks, this is another one of those movies that I rented off YouTube that has no subtitles, so,
Professor Keenbean.
Keen bean.
I'm guessing this is a character from this comics.
Probably, I don't know.
Is this a stock music track?
Again, I apologize to any gigantic Richie Rich fans, but I don't think any of us are that big on Richie Rich.
No, I've never read the comics. I read Casper, but not Richie Rich.
If this is a stock music track, why do you need to use stock music? You have Alan Silvestri on your crew.
Is it stock music?
I heard it used a lot in
wait.
YouTube videos and SpongeBob SquarePants.
Let me guess, he's also a brilliant scientist?
Oh, I see. This is one of those movies. Remember in the 90s, there were all these movies where the main child character was good at everything.
Yeah.
I mean, literally I mean, literally the same year this film came out, North also came out. But that was a rare case where the child being good at everything was the least of the movie's problems.
I guess from what I can garner,
is that Sarah Paulson? No, it can't be.
What are they doing?
No, it's not.
No, it's not. Ben Stein's in the movie.
Ah!
Yeah. Fun fact. Whenever you say the words Ben Stein in public, even if you're miles away where he can't possibly hear you, Pedro lets out a scream of terror and he won't know why.
I've already explained why.
Yeah. Get it? They're having them sculpt their own Mount Rushmore over there. $70 billion.
So the Richard Rich.
Well, it's nice to see they have a healthy relationship, I guess. Go on, Dibs.
He's played by the late Edward Herman, who let me check what films he's been in. I'm not sure if I've seen any. Let me see. Oh wow, apparently his acting career is so extensive. You had to make a separate page for him. He was in the 1974 version of The Great Gatsby. He was in Nixon.
Mm-hmm.
AKA the that film that historical drama where oh shit, okay, I'm pretty sure that can be heard. Never mind. Yeah, Nixon was that movie in which they depict the famous interview. Well, at least one of them, at least one part of it depicted the interview between him and David Frost.
A bee.
Or am I thinking? Actually, no, I'm thinking of another movie. Sorry. But yeah, it was a film with Nixon in it.
So basically, the parents have business with politicians, and they have a big giant laboratory of scientists who just come up with random things.
Oh no, he was in Bucky Larson.
I guess, to be fair, it doesn't seem like they're portraying Richie Rich as supposedly the invulnerable genius of everything. More so, these are all just gadgets that he can play with, essentially.
And
Sure. I love that one. Millions and millions of dollars were spent on this one bee. There you go, Jova. Well, actually, no, not tax dollars, because these people are just rich of business. Right? Never mind.
Yeah.
Go on.
And and Regina Rich is played by Christine Ebersole, who was in Amadeus, among a bunch of other movies. The Wolf of Wall Street, which, funnily enough, Edward Herrmann was also in. Steven Universe, the movie.
Mm-hmm.
She was White Diamond.
Of course.
I'm guessing she was also in the show.
All right.
And among a bunch of other things.
So let me get this straight. These people are the richest people in the world. They have so much money, they don't know what to do with it. They pay these scientists to come up with random things like robo-bees.
How neat.
Wait, get it? The table is so long, they have to talk to each other on mobile phones.
That seems to be the prevailing joke in this movie. They're rich, so they do everything over the top ways.
I'm guessing
why
Why
not just get up and move, you lazy shits?
I wonder, I'm guessing that was the main joke of the comic, and if so, kudos for accuracy. Okay, I don't find this movie offensively bad or anything.
No, it's not even bad necessarily. So far, it's just whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this, like, if you're into, like, rich people jokes, well, good for you.
I always have, I at the very least have a soft spot for something like this, because remember, this was back in the day where you could pitch a concept that is so out there like this one into a movie and it would get greenlit, compared to how today, where studios do nothing but just resort to popular franchises and adapt that shit and remake and reboot and shit.
And I will
you don't see movies like this anymore, like where where you see just completely out there ideas get made into movies. You don't see that at this anymore.
That bearded professor we saw earlier.
What about
the guy played by Mike McShade? You guys have heard his voice before.
And that is?
He was Sid in Final Fantasy X.
Oh, okay.
Go
on.
How nice. I will give him credit.
He was also in a Doctor Who episode.
I will give him credit. I do dig how dedicated the movie does seem to be to just basically transporting Richie Rich to the screen. Like, I can definitely believe that this is the comic brought to life. Like, it doesn't feel phony in that regard. It feels like they're legit having fun with it, and I can appreciate that.
Sure. It's one of those things where I appreciate the idea of, trying to keep what the strip was like. That being said, it is also important to remember that what works for a strip will not necessarily work for a movie.
And keep in mind, it's a pretty old strip, too, from my understanding.
Yeah.
1950s, yeah.
The Rotten Tomatoes consensus wasn't particularly kind to it. With a 26% based on 23 reviews, the consensus is, with Macaulay Culkin barely registering any emotion, Richie Rich feels disjointed and free of a sense of fun and wonderment.
Again, maybe Richie Rich was a lot more emotional. I feel like this is one of those cases where Culkin's shtick seems to be working for him in regards to the character. Were there any complaints that he was massively out of character for the movie, Dwibs?
I don't think it's so much that he was out of character.
That I've seen.
From what Dwibs has just read, it seems like they thought that his acting didn't have enough emotion. That's what they mean. I don't think they're criticizing the characterization. They're criticizing Culkin's acting specifically.
Well, this film did get a direct-to-DVD sequel 4 years after it came out, Richie Rich's Christmas Wish, and for some reason, in spite of this film being from Warner Brothers, apparently it's on Disney Plus.
Huh. Really? That is random.
I guess Warner Brothers just didn't bother claiming ownership to that.
Was it like...
Yeah, I mean, even the it's not like a case of Casper either, where those direct-to-DVD sequels are done by Fox. No, Richie Rich's Christmas Wish was. I think I know why it is now. I know why it is. Guess who was one of the production companies of that movie?
Go on.
Saban, and guess where Saban's. Guess where most of Saban's library ended up?
Disney. Also, I do remember this bit from what little I know of the comics and the cartoon. His dog is a Dalmatian. Instead of having spots, has dollar signs. Huh. Oh yeah, and this thing. This was another thing in 90s family movies. Boys being horny for hot women.
Well, so long as it doesn't go as far as Blank Check went, we should be fine.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Dare I ask how that film went?
Or Milk Money.
Okay. Okay. I'll just tell you this, Droops. I won't spoil the context, but we legit get an adult woman full on kissing a young preteen boy on the lips in Blank Check.
It's like vocabulary. Whereas in Milk Money, get this, it's a family film where the premise is 3 boys want to see a prostitute naked.
For a family-friendly movie.
And they try to sell this to you as a quirky family comedy.
Guys, what if I told you that this, Blank Check, and Milk Money all came out the same year?
I would not be too surprised. We've been noticing a lot of stuff came out in 1994.
Please tell me it's not 1994.
Yes, they all came out in 1994.
1994 was quite the year, it seems.
Okay.
The year of weird movies involving people with a lot of money
and children actors.
Yeah. Oh, and in case you're wondering, here in the UK, the spelling of the word check is different because we don't spell it CHECK, we spell it CHEQUE because we're fancy.
Okay, here's the thing about this movie so far. Like Jova said, I appreciate the idea that they want to try to retain the tone and humor of the strip. But here's the thing. If that's all you're going to do for 90 minutes, you need stronger comedic writing than this. Because I don't find the jokes particularly funny enough to carry a whole movie. Like, if you're not going to have, like, a particular story and it's just comedy, just, little comedy strips put on screen, that's fine. But if you're going to do that, better bust out some amazing comedic writing if that's the only thing that's supposed to carry this thing for 90 minutes.
That was part of the problem of Little Nemo.
Well, that movie's issues are its own can of worms that I already went through in our
speaking
our
of
commentary. So
speaking of Pedro's problems with certain people.
Don't worry, I'm not going to go into another rant about Einstein.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I get it. So apparently there's like a board of directors with children as them.
That being said, like people have said very before, and I think. That being said, and like people have said before, and I do agree, Ben Stein is is a very unique actor in the sense that he is so devoid of emotion, and yet somehow you can't look away.
Okay, I get it. So this is like his economics class, essentially, where him and all the rich kids learn finances.
This is very bad parenting. Kids at this age are supposed to be having fun on the street so they can gain street smarts and, gain, that kind of experience builds character. They shouldn't be learning economics.
But Pedro, we're rich. We don't go to the streets.
Yeah.
Didn't Bill Gates, tell his son that he, get his son to just, try to, properly educate himself and get his own job instead of just supporting him?
Honestly, Bill Gates in general seems to be one of the most humble rich people ever. He didn't get a big lavish house. He doesn't spend his money exorbitantly. He's incredibly rich, and he still just lives relatively like a normal person. 'Cause hey, that means he'll definitely have plenty of money left over just in case.
Yeah. Keanu Reeves is the same thing. Keanu Reeves also, he takes the buzz like all of us and shit like that. Keanu Reeves is also very much like that.
Oh boy, will this have a sword fight as good as Die Another Day, I wonder?
What?
Please. Although that being said, the sword fight was the best scene in that movie, so...
This absolutely chuffs my corporals!
Also, Richard, were you playing pranks? You do know rich people don't play pranks.
Oh, there you go. The parents are taking a tea with the Queen of England.
Oh, okay. Nice.
But Pedro, have you not watched Megamind? There is the Queen of England.
I mean, yeah.
It is gonna be weird watching fiction from now on, knowing that Her Majesty is now out of date.
I mean, that movie was made back when it seemed like she was never going to pass.
Yeah, and here's the other thing as well, like,
oh, gee. Are these the kids that will show him how the other side lives and thus give him the friends that he needs in lives? Just like I may have called them.
I love the one that you can't play with these children. I must protect you on the strongest terms.
But they probably haven't even been vaccinated.
They're not dogs, they're humans, you idiot. What the fuck? You can't play with these children, Mr. Rich. They haven't been vaccinated yet.
No. The rich people insults. They call people that aren't as rich as them names like animals because they see them as below them or something like that.
I'm sorry. Do these kids not want to try and be friends with one of the richest kids in the world?
Yeah, like... did you see, Joe? But they're trying to go for the whole, he's one of those rich, spoiled brats who are not cool and everything. Like, they're trying to go for the whole.
Yeah, like these guys already.
Oh, snap!
Another typical trope from family films of this time was it was starting to become very prevalent, always having a tomboy girl in the group.
It is interesting how the tomboy girl seems to actually be the leader of the punk kids in this one.
Yeah.
Touchdown is a football term, not a baseball term.
But Joe, he's British. He doesn't know American sport terminology.
So if I understood correctly, Richard just paid these kids to play with them.
Well, okay. It's more like he's putting down a bet that he could.
Right. Never mind. Sure. So, Dibs, I guess I might as well ask, how's Macaulay Culkin's British accent?
Well, I don't think he's trying to go for British.
Isn't the character
British? No. Let me check. No, the family is American. They're just.
Oh, okay then.
It's the butler who's British.
Sure.
Because
like I said, he's Bruce Wayne if his parents had survived, basically. Like,
Oh,
can you imagine?
oh.
That's my headcanon. This is an Elseworld DC Comics story. Remember, this is Warner Brothers, so this is an Elseworld DC Comics story. What if Bruce Wayne's parents didn't die? And this is what Bruce Wayne would have turned into.
You don't belong here.
In terms of butlers with posh accents with posh British accents, if you guys play the first of the Hitman video game World of Assassination trilogy, and you play the Sapienza level, try and find the butler there, and you can marvel at Yuri Lowenthal's posh British accent, I guess.
I love how they're playing as the $1 billion one.
Also, I'm guessing this guy's a bad guy based off of the evil-sounding music.
Oh, wait, the $1 billion one. Wait a minute. Wait, I'm sorry, Mr. Rich, but the $1 billion one is broken. I'm afraid you'll have to make do with the $1 million one. Excuse me.
Oh, but don't you see, guys? Richie Rich just wants to be a normal kid.
Yep.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I get how he can be put off by that experience, but are there, like, no other, other not rich kids that actually might be nice to him?
I mean, yeah, the movie, I don't think the movie ever addresses that. Remember, like, we just had a bit where the butler was, oh, they aren't vaccinated. What do you mean they aren't vaccinated? They're kids, not dogs.
Well, okay. To be fair, sometimes parents don't get their kids shots, anti-vaxxers and whatnot, but I don't know. I guess the idea is that they're so out of touch that, they fear that the children may not even be vaccinated because they are street urchins.
Yeah.
Apparently, at least according to TV tropes, Richie's richness is a bit downplayed from the comics, since they add in this movie that he's suffering from loneliness and burnout from all the things he goes to.
Whereas in the comics, he doesn't suffer that stuff?
Possibly.
If I remember correctly, in the comics, he's just going on adventures with his already existing friends or something. I think it's one of those things where it's just like.
So they did come, actually.
You've seen Bigger?
Oh god, she's gonna be the love interest.
Excuse me, I have to comment on that line. This place it has its own zip code. Of course it does. Every house has its own zip code, you idiot.
Well, okay, I think the idea of the joke is like, normally it's a neighborhood that has its zip code, but here, this one house is big enough to be a neighborhood.
I mean, I don't know how it works in America, in the US and UK, but over here, we have, like, our zip codes work like this. An entire neighborhood is its own 4-digit number, then we have a slash, and then we have another 3-digit number specific to the building.
Well, okay. Do you guys have, like, a 5-digit number dedicated to the area?
Yes, a 4-1. Like, the way it works is we have a 4-digit, like, for example, Joe, my zip code is 8100, 4 digits, which is the number for my neighborhood, then slash, then 502, which is the one that's meant specifically for my building. So basically, that's my full zip code. 8100 for the neighborhood, the 502 for my specific building, and that's my full zip code.
Okay, so usually each house over here gets its own 3-letter number, and oh yes, he's so rich he has a McDonald's. Wow, that girl does not impress easily.
If you're gonna have your own restaurant, can you at least have a KFC?
I know, right?
I mean, McDonald's is fine, but I prefer KFC.
That girl's totally gonna be the love interest, isn't she? She's the one who's not easily impressed, because it's truly about how you are deep down inside.
If I remember correctly, no, they don't go for that.
Oh,
because I've seen this movie before, but it's been a long time, so I don't remember much from it. But I do think they don't go for the love interest thing.
Huh? Curious if that's the case.
The kiddie point?
What?
No. Oh, okay. Never mind.
Thankfully, she is okay.
It's still dangerous, though. What if the thing malfunctions?
They're rich. They probably have a gajillion backups just in case.
And I can imagine they have insurance.
Oh.
Tag. How do rich people play tag? Oh.
With ATVs.
You know, okay, minus. You know what this reminds me of?
Go on.
How Power Rangers depicted teenagers. They go dirt bike racing apparently in school and everything.
Yeah.
Like the only thing like the Power Rangers are when they're not fighting monsters, they're just doing extreme radical sports 24/7.
Or attending peace conferences. Let's not forget.
And then oh god, and then I could just hear one of the writers yelling when you said that, Joe. When you said peace conference, I could just hear one of the writers yelling, "One time, jeez, the one time we do a peace conference, and you and mocked about that for all eternity."
So, have any of you guys seen the new Power Rangers movie with the original cast?
The Netflix one? I have, yeah. It's fine.
Oh, no. The new one that's on Netflix.
Yeah, that's the one.
Once and always.
Once and always, yeah.
Yep.
That's the Netflix one.
How was it?
It's fine. Have you seen it, Lips?
I haven't, although the casting interests me. In spite of it being filmed in New Zealand, like the Power Rangers has done since 2003, although apparently that's ending this year. They normally, you know how when the New Zealand era started, getting American voice actors was nigh on impossible because of union rules and that.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Once and Always didn't have that problem. Like Alpha voice sounded like Richard Horvitz again, and Rita sounded like Barbara Goodson again.
Also, fun fact: the roller coaster that is used in Richie Rich's backyard, that's actually the former stand-up roller coaster Iron Wolf at Six Flags Great America, the Chicago location. Like clockwork.
So much for that.
So let me guess, their head of security guy here is up to an evil scheme that involves them going missing, I assume.
Probably. So I have a question. Why are they the ones piloting the airplane? Shouldn't they have a pilot for that? I mean, maybe I'm guessing they're just so rich that they also invested themselves into aircraft piloting training.
Well, hey, gotta have a hobby.
That's one thing. That's one thing I wish I had from this movie, but we just saw earlier: a giant gumball dispensing machine.
Nice.
Oh no! Oh my God, Jove! It's like the opening of Amazing Spider-Man 2.
And that came out 20 years before this.
Oh, snap!
Wow, the alternate scene from Amazing Spider-Man 2 is very... Honestly, I'm surprised they didn't do that. Blow up the plane with them in it.
Well, I guess they thought that might have made this Richie Rich film a little too dark if suddenly Richie Rich does indeed become Batman.
Alright, let's see.
Hey, get it a parallel. They're screaming from the roller coaster, but they're screaming for dear life. And now... Oh, do I sense a romance between the mother and the butler?
Who knows?
That's okay. I'll admit that's not a pairing I normally see. Someone's mother and a butler.
Ah, look at that. I guess money can indeed buy friendship.
Although funny, I watched the Zack and Cody episode where that was the premise of it. It's a rich kid's trying to buy Zack's friendship, but then he asks Zack to keep doing really immoral things, and Zack is just like, yeah, no, screw this, I'm out.
Well, this is just the scene for bad news, isn't it?
Richie Rich!
I guess he really is gonna become Batman.
Oh no.
Okay, I'll be honest, dead parents is something I didn't predict in a movie like this.
I wonder if maybe they'll turn out to have survived the crash or whatnot, but...
I love how the software has a specific message for that not found, just in case this would happen.
Oh, so for a second I thought that guy was Michael Keaton.
If I remember correctly, Dwebs is a fake out. They're not actually dead.
That's what...
I was gonna say, that'd be a bit dark for a movie like this.
Okay, that's it. Until we know whether or not they're dead, though, wow. What a direction to take the movie. Oopsie!
Careful planning wasn't very much careful if you didn't check if the kid was on it before, you know.
Well, okay. Admittedly, the plans were that the boy was supposed to be on the plane for the visit to the Queen, but he canceled on that outside their knowledge. Oh boy, are we going to have some Home Alone shenanigans with adults trying to take out a kid?
If I remember correctly, yes. Because see, the thing is, a lot of '90s live action family comedies did basically try to rip off Home Alone's shtick.
Even Blank Check did. Blatantly.
Yeah.
And hey, we've got Culkin himself, so why not? Oh look, they are alive!
There you go, they're fine.
So, what's the point of that then?
Well, okay, to be fair, this is what helps set up, I guess, the tension for Richie Rich, since as far as he knows, his parents are dead, and this will also set up conflict, I guess, with the guy, their head of security, who tried to kill them to have the fortune for himself.
Sure.
Wow, that is very benevolent of you.
Well, maybe you should start. I understand the idea of never firing anyone, but guess what? The world is not all sunshine and roses. Sometimes firing
Like,
people can
if
be
somebody
for the greater
fucks
good.
up,
Exactly.
yeah, like if somebody fucks up, then, or severely fucks up, and you're giving them plenty of chances, then, well...
And I'd say putting a bomb on your plane is a bad thing for your head of security to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like thinking, I've trusted my butler for many years, but lately him trying to poison my food has made his reputation in my book go down a little. What do you think? What do you think, sir?
So it turns out that with the guy taking over the company, he's fired a ton of employees, including Gloria's mom. Yeah. Gloria's mom, Diane, apparently worked for the company. But yeah, she's fired.
Except it's nothing like that. But whatever.
The
Anything-
Force.
If anything, wouldn't that be more like Lion King with "He lives inside of you"?
This movie came out the same year.
The same year. That wasn't popularized yet.
Yeah, I guess.
When did the Lion King come out?
1994.
I know, but
I think this
when
one
exactly?
This one, Richard Rich's secretary in Liar.
The summer, June 15th. Although it did come out here in the UK in that October.
Yeah.
I don't know, it will be too difficult to look for it. So. Oh, and by the way, the aerobics instructor, you know, the one that Richard had the hots for. I didn't notice it when she was on screen, but she was played by Claudia Schiffer.
Claudia Schiffer, where have I heard that name before?
She was a very popular top model back in the 90s. She was like basically one of the world's most successful models, regarded as one of the most beautiful women in the world. Like, she was a big deal in the 90s.
This movie definitely has its fair share of star power, it seems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not really feeling the comedy. No.
Yeah,
That was meant to be comedy.
It's like I can tell what they're going for, but the writing is not particularly witty. Like the movie's visual gags are fine enough, but the verbal humor leaves a bit to be desired.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, the visual humor, aside from that weird mouth magnifying glass thing, I'm not sure what the joke was there, that I guess he's acting like a kid, I don't know, seems to be fine. But yeah, the vocal humor is not really doing it.
No, it's one of those things where the plot is very rudimentary. Like, there's not really an attempt to be heartfelt or anything like that, or to have any kind of interesting arcs. So this is just a comedy that is basically, the plot is basically just a justification for the various antics. But the antics are not particularly entertaining and funny. They're just kind of average.
What did Richie Rich fans have to say about this movie?
This movie is regarded as just
they like it better than the Netflix
movie.
show, apparently.
Wait, there's a Netflix
Oh, really?
show?
I wasn't even aware that was a Netflix show.
Huh. So, again, I guess my best guess would be it's faithful to the comics, but that'll only get you so far. Again, I wouldn't even call it necessarily bad, but
No.
there is nothing.
What's the story exactly?
The story seems to be, his parent... Well, okay, the story was he wanted to make friends with the normal kids. Now I guess he's head of the office.
And yes,
The
his dog is
Dollarmation.
Yeah, and his dog is called Dollar. Huh. It's one of those things where, let me put it this way. Let's assume that the strips were just like this. That works fine when you're reading strips, because when you're reading strips, you're just reading like the occasional strip on a newspaper and shit like that. When you're watching 90 minutes of just this, it gets old. I get the feeling Richard Rich's humor is the kind of humor that is much better consumed in short doses. Like when you're just watching 90 minutes of just this, it doesn't really cut the mustard.
Oh.
Research and development.
So I guess he's doing well with the company? Yeah, I think his wooden acting is starting to show a bit more. Like, he was fine when he was just, a kid, but now I guess in these... Ironically, in the business sequences, he feels way too flat.
But Bajova, don't you see? It's a metaphor. Business makes you sound flat because it's cutthroat and serious and stuff.
I'm surprised, considering what they did in Lost in New York. I'm surprised Donald Trump doesn't have a cameo in this movie.
I know, right?
I mean, he was in Lost in New York. I get why, because the hotel that was
His...
the Plaza Hotel scenes was a hotel of his. But considering
Sexiest man alive. What?
No.
He's barely in his teens at this point.
I don't care. I don't care if this is the 90s. That would never fly.
Okay. Yeah. Chris Hansen must have been working overtime that week.
Like,
Jesus.
People's Magazine elected a 12-year-old as the sexiest man alive. I'm pretty sure there's an unethical aspect to that, isn't there?
There were so many magazine jokes you could have picked that would not have pressed that button, and you went with the one that absolutely pokes its ass right into the fire. Wow, I don't know whether to just gasp, agape in horror, or to applaud them for having the balls to do that. Like, social commentary or something? I have no idea why they did that.
Commentary on what, exactly?
That I guess the media world is really that messed up?
It's like remember, Joe, it's kind of, that would be like, Frank Miller's attempt at commentary in Dark Knight Strikes Again. Where he puts naked women on the news and because news anchors totally do that, right? Like,
yeah, I was gonna say, I can't imagine Frank Miller writing something kid friendly, but then I remembered, he co-wrote RoboCop 3.
You mean the butler did it? So, second act breakup.
Gotta love the overly unsensitive portrayal of the journalist. How does it feel to be betrayed by your most loyal servant? It's just like, come on. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying journalists can't be insensitive with their questions, but that was just, I don't buy that.
I'm guessing that's supposed to be the paparazzi. Otherwise, yeah, dick move there. Like, okay, I could get some of the reporters definitely getting that harsh, but dang, it's a kid.
Okay, here's the other problem. In fact, this is kind of something that this movie has in common with Casper, now that I think about it. The kind of inconsistent tone. Like, the movie throughout the first half has been very quirky and very comedic in tone. Now they're trying to be more dramatic by comparison to the first half, and it really doesn't, like, the two tones don't really mesh well at all.
Alright, so apparently now that the butler has been fired, that means that Richie can no longer have a hold on the company, which means that, of course, Van Doe is once again firing the employees.
Yeah, ha ha ha. You didn't say the magic word. Ha ha ha.
Who is this Michael Keaton lookalike?
I have no idea.
Alright, the dog's name is Dollar.
Does he have a goldfish named Scent?
Yeah.
You know, I'm not. I'm wondering actually how a film like this would translate if they made a British version of it.
Oh, it's simple, dude. They would make the Richard Rich super safety and have this big strip lip British accent and shit. And they would have this dog have the pound sterling sign, or instead of the dollar sign, of course.
Okay,
They would have the villains be even more over the top. Go on.
Well, that's the thing, though, Pedro. In terms of pounds, that's something a dog doesn't want to hear, because that's where that's the thing where unruly dogs can end up. We call it the pound as a nickname.
So yes, as I'm sure it'll come to a giant surprise. Yes, it turns out Van Doe framed the butler.
Yep.
But apparently what he wants is the money in the vault, which is supposedly a hidden commodity on the Rich's estate.
Of course.
Oh God, he's gonna have him.
Jesus.
He's gonna have him killed. Basically, he's gonna have him killed in the cell. They're gonna stage it as suicide.
It look like a suicide.
Not just that,
Whoa.
he's literally trying to make him hang himself.
No.
This took a dark turn.
It's not that they're gonna make him hang himself. They're gonna stage it as a suicide. You know, typical. Have one of your goons murder a guy in prison. Still, though, Jesus, that got dark pretty quick.
Yeah, that's not a thing.
Okay, that was actually kind of funny.
All right, okay. Points for a funny scene.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's totally not Richie Rich, one of the most popular kids who was voted sexiest man alive, walking into our office.
Speak of the devil.
Well, because, you know, the British and their teeth and all that.
Our teeth aren't even that bad. Come on. Our dental... We have our dental care is actually mostly done by the NHS. It doesn't even make sense anymore.
Uh-oh.
Did the Undertaker come in? Like,
Bong. Well, I mean, the Undertaker was in was it a totally 90s-ish movie that came out the year before that? He was in Suburban Commando.
yeah. Wait, wasn't that Hulk Hogan though?
No, the Undertaker was in it. He played one of the villains.
Right. What, are you nuts? This is the 90s. We're gonna sue you.
A few years ago, actually, to Commando's 1991. Oh, is this a bit... Richie Rich, everybody! Watch a guy get strangled. Lol.
Did he kill that guy?
Okay,
is he dead?
The
Oh wait, never mind. He just knocked him out. But Jesus, the implications.
I guess they didn't have the money to shoot the action sequence, so they had it all happen off screen.
This movie... Okay, maybe... I can only assume that most of this film's budget went on Macaulay Culkin's salary. Let me check the production.
That and all the guest stars they got.
Also, where did he
the
get that
movie
outfit?
Well, remember, he got it off of the guy who
Right,
tried to strangle him.
Oh,
The movie cost $40 million to make, and it only made $76 million at the box office.
Ooh.
I don't know about Macaulay Culkin's salary, but
I'm not sure if I want to say this movie deserved to fail, but I'm not sure I can say it deserved to succeed either.
like I said, this movie.
apparently $8 million.
Yes,
like
Pedro?
I said, this movie's just incredibly mediocre. That's it. It's the kind of movie that you watch. It's a film fart. You watch it, it's happened, and you just forget about it shortly after watching it.
Yeah, it's not god awful or anything. The problem is it's just it's not very exciting.
It's just mediocre.
Like, once you get past the gimmick of that they're rich and have kooky, crazy gadgets, there's just not much to it.
And then they have a McDonald's in their mansion.
Like I said, I get the feeling Richard Rich's humor works a lot better in short doses, hence the strips. When you just try to do a 90-minute of just this, yeah, eventually it doesn't. It gets old.
So, what's the plan now?
Neighborhood watch. We call police. Yes. Ha. Yeah, okay. Although, okay, one thing I will say that is a major negative of the movie. It's meant to be a comedy film, right?
Yeah.
Yep. It's not particularly funny.
That's
like the biggest death knell for a comedy. That's like the biggest death knell for a comedy where it's not funny. I mean, the only thing that's worse than a comedy that isn't funny is a comedy that's just incredibly mean spirited.
Like,
I mean, this isn't mean spirited. It's just kind of. Ugh.
Like,
there's an occasional good joke here and there, but they're too few and too far in between.
Okay, it's like the old saying says. Normally, when a movie is bad, it can allow it to be unintentionally funny. Except for when it's a bad comedy. Because when you have a bad comedy, typically the problem is it's not funny. So you normally can't even get ironic enjoyment out of that. Unless they somehow manage to be so bad that it loops around to being unintentionally funny, but that's often not the case with a bad comedy. Like, bad horror, bad action, bad mystery, those can be funny. A bad comedy, I will give this movie...
I know it's not...
Gone.
I know it's not saying much, but in terms of comedies from 1994, it's better than North.
Definitely, like, I mean...
Curtis for small favors, I guess.
Like, I mean, there are... I'll give it credit. This movie does have its fair share of good and funny jokes. the problem isn't that, there is nothing funny. The problem is just that this film is definitely usually just treading the line. Oh, sure, I can definitely believe that this is a good adaptation of the comics to the silver screen. That being said, I can also think that aside from maybe updating a few things, it hasn't really done much to improve it for a 90s audience. Again, that's not to say that, just because something's old, it can't work in a newer thing. But a lot of cases, you do have to try and, adapt and bring some new stuff to the table the older the franchise is.
It depends on what it's one of those things where, again, the comedy, I think it's also a difference in mediums. I think I will argue it's not so much the age of the material, it's more so the nature of the material. Like I said, I feel like this works a lot better as a strip than it does a movie.
I can agree with
that has been found.
Neato. I can agree with that. Where I come from in regards to me thinking that part of the issue is just that it is pretty old is in that regard, again, the comics being a 50s strip did not have to do as much to entertain folks as, say, something made in the 90s would have to do to entertain folk. It's kind of like with the Felix and the Cat stuff where back then, the original cartoon of just cat with bag that has anything with it was enough to, excite people, whereas obviously you would need to expand on that more.
Yeah, Felix the Cat was made during the time where animation had just been invented. So just the mere fact of these cartoons moving in front of you was just a novelty. Thing is, it's not a novelty anymore. So that alone doesn't make for an entertaining product anymore.
Now, I'm not going to act like that's the sole issue with this movie because no. I will think it's a good enough adaptation of the comics to the movies, but I do think that the problem lies in is that I don't feel like they added enough to keep the audience as engaged as they think it would. But hey, look, they're dressed up for their rescuing. How neat.
I don't think it's a good idea to be drinking alcohol that close to the sea.
Well, given how there's a half an hour left in the movie, I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop, and yeah. Obviously, it's not Richie, since Richie is staging this right now.
But who is it?
Oh, but look, the kid friends are now with him to the end.
How lovely.
So here's the interesting thing. I'm taking a look at the comic strips' Wikipedia page. Gloria, the redheaded girl?
Yeah.
In the strip, she's actually his girlfriend.
Huh.
But in this movie, I guess they didn't want to go for the cliche. And just like in this movie, she has disdain for open display of money, diamonds, and other forms of wealth.
I get it.
Richard, and just like in this movie, not so much in this movie. Richard does efforts to conceal it from her. Regardless, she always wins his attention in comparison to Maida Money. Who's Maida Money, you may ask? That's a character that's not in this movie. Maida Money is Richie's snobby Ravenette wannabe girlfriend. So basically, in the strip, there's a rich snobbish girl who wants to be Richie's girlfriend, but Richard prefers Gloria because Gloria is actually a proper person who's not a snobbish.
The Betty and Veronica situation.
Yeah, but in here, I guess they didn't think. I wonder why they didn't. I feel like honestly, I mean, I would have been fine with. Okay, how about this? Instead of whatever the plot of this movie is, which is just not particularly interesting, I think would have been a lot more interesting and heartfelt if the movie was focused on just Richard and Gloria meeting each other, and her disdain for richness, for wealth, would have been something where he tries to do something like, think of it like as a reverse Aladdin, right? Where Richard pretends to be a normal kid with no wealth, because he wants to impress her, because he wants to be friends with her, and then or because he likes her. You can have him fall for her, and then of course there's this point where eventually, by the end they of course find out the lie, but of course because they like each other, because she got to see him for who she is, that would have been, it's cliche, it's 90s cliche still, but I think it would have made a more enjoyable film.
I was about to say, you just described a kid-friendly version of Eddie Murphy's Coming to America.
Yeah, I feel like if they did that would have been for a more entertaining movie, because, like, for example, let's look at Richie's friends here. Because they bring in all of Richie's friends from the strip, they don't really flesh them all out. Like, the one that's like the most fleshed out, I guess, will be Gloria, but even then it's not much. And nobody aside from Gloria in this movie gets any attempt at characterization. They're just 90s kids, and that's it.
I find it funny that in a way I kind of called her being the love interest, just not in the way that I thought, since, I guess I'll give him credit. Like in the comics, they have it be that she is not necessarily impressed with how rich he is, but more so the character of his soul, yada yada yada.
Yeah. She is, that's the thing, Joe, but you technically called it correct, because she is the love interest, but only in the strip. In this movie, she isn't.
I guess, to give him credit, like, I assume strip-wise, since, they're kids, they probably didn't go that too far with it.
No. They just do. From what I'm reading here, it seems like they're a couple, but they're like one of those very perfectly innocent child couples who just hold hands and nothing else. That's it. That's all they do.
Old elementary school romance, essentially.
Hmm. Whereas in here, I'm guessing they wanted to make her more independent and more, and shit like that. I'm guessing that's the logic, where they wanted to make her like a more proper female role model for the little girls watching, maybe.
Do I sense Home Alone antics approaching?
Oh boy, here we go.
Joe, there is one difference this time. In Home Alone, it was one person doing all the traps. Now it's the superpower of teamwork.
Neat.
The R&D team, as he calls them.
What?
Hey, the Three Stooges.
I thought pulling the cables disconnects the power. I didn't know it changed the channel.
I'm guessing that it leads to another feed that they had available.
So, hey kids, next time you lose the remote, just pull power cables out. That'll change the channel. I'm sure nothing will go wrong there. This is The Godfather.
Okay.
Scarface.
Again,
Scarface should be more accurate.
I legit have to give credit to the actors who are taking this film so seriously. The guy just sitting back in a chair, cigar lit, snaps his fingers, shows the parents captured like he's a James Bond villain.
It's like Joe, it's like Mike Pollock says when he's questioned about the whole special race to see who's the fastest line. As an actor, you're not supposed to question the material. You're just supposed to deliver it.
Huh.
Money! Yep, there you go. Yes, I am just as shallow and cliche as you thought.
Well, I mean, it'd be a bit ironic if in a film called Richie Rich, the bad guy was just after I don't know. He was just I don't know. He was just after well anything other than money.
Well, of course he is. You work for him.
Obviously.
Why are you surprised by this? You're telling me that you've worked for this guy for years, and only now you know that that mountain is the vault?
Well, I guess he figured that the vault was something more hidden, as opposed to something hidden in plain view. But yes, the entire Mount Richmore, as they call it, is indeed the vault.
Ha ha! Richmore.
Yeah, that line though is just like, man, you really are filthy rich, aren't you? Well, yeah. Have you known these people?
Yeah, they're called Rich.
Oh, but it's the
That's
robe.
literally in their name.
Hey, Dribs, you really are a Brit, aren't you?
How could you tell?
What crazy invention will save the day? Oh my god, it is Home Alone!
Yeah, it is.
Wait, what?
He is literally
no,
going to gas and...
Gas them to death.
Wow! I
Again,
mean...
what the hell is this movie's tone? It was all whimsy and wonder at the beginning, and now all of a sudden it's about gassing people.
Uh-oh.
Well, that ain't
Just,
good.
mate, just take your trousers off.
Jesus! Okay, not just gassing. It's like he said, he's literally going to scatter their molecules.
Look at that! The robot bee is going to save the day. See, guys? We introduced this thing in the beginning of the movie, and now they go payoff. See?
Yeah, otherwise, why bother even having the bee in the movie?
Well, that was incredibly dangerous.
What did he just say?
Eureka.
Eureka does.
I thought he said something else.
So what are we gonna do for the final showdown?
Try to think.
This guy looks like a discount Bo Bridges.
Huh. Got a lot of discount lookalikes in this movie, don't we?
You know, for a film called Richie Rich, it's a bit ironic they have to get the discount famous actors.
I guess if I can give this movie credit, the CGI does not look terrible. Ah, of course, that's the key word.
Do you mind?
That's probably how they unlock the vault. Yep, there you go.
What?
Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure kids will be ever familiar with Beavis and Butthead.
Well, actually, they will, Jova. Back then, a lot of us '90s kids watched Beavis and Butthead without our parents' permission.
How Arthur made a Beavis
Like
and Butthead
hidden?
reference.
Wait, really?
So-
Arthur did?
Yeah.
Beavis and Butthead was meant for adults, Jova, but a lot of us kids watched it when our parents weren't looking. That's the basic gist of it. But the point is, regardless though, that joke doesn't even make any sense. They were singing, and they weren't even singing anything that was like even remotely resembling something that Beavis and Butthead do. That joke made no sense. You just called them Beavis and Butthead, but the movie didn't really do anything that's even remotely calling for that joke. Like,
I guess
it would make more sense if the two had to giggle together. If it was a giggle instead of a song, then the joke would have made sense. But no.
I love it. I love it. He was expecting the vault to be full of money, but no, it's full of their treasures. The actual money is, well, where else? In banks.
Yep.
Mate, you do realise you brought a gun to a sword to a gunfight.
Are you really willing to risk your parents' lives on that, Rich?
Dang!
Jesus Christ!
Remember,
Am I shooting a child?
I'm guessing he's wearing the bulletproof suit we saw from earlier, but Jesus! These villains are...
so.
Jesus, these villains are cold, man! He legit is like, normally I would be all about honor, but nah, I'ma shoot a kid. But yeah, I do love it. This kind of pulled the Casper thing where, oh, what a shock. The treasure is what we really value, not money. I guess it is kind of a neat subversion, though, that they aren't like Scrooge McDuck and keep it all in there. Like, no, they do the obvious thing and just hold it in banks.
Yeah. I want to finish my rant, though. Like, again, if you wanted to make a Beavis and Butthead joke related to the parents, you could have just had them have a giggle. You could have had them have a Beavis and Butthead style giggle. That would have made sense, but no, they just sang a song. And then the guy's like, "Thank you, Beavis and Butthead." Like, that joke doesn't make any sense in this context.
My guess is that that's his way of calling them nincompoops, essentially. While also having, of course, a cultural reference.
There were better pop culture references you could have made for that context, if you ask me.
Oh yeah, definitely. But Beavis and Butthead was what was popular.
I guess, but like pop culture references still have to make sense. What's happening?
Like, okay, it's a very generic one, but I think I get it. The idea that, oh, Beavis and Butthead are idiots, so these guys are idiots too. And yeah, remember, they use a laser to cut the stone into the form of it. Boom! This villain is so determined. Oh! Wow! He said the S word. He said the S word in a kids' film in 1994.
Okay, is it
I think
just
you're
me,
allowed to get rid of it to get away with it.
Did I misunderstand that, or did Richard fart in the fart?
No. He just kicked the ladder.
Okay, never mind then.
But yeah, no, you're right, Dweebs. You can get away with saying the S word, I think, once or so in a PG movie.
Yeah, like once, twice.
It's like the F word for PG-13 stuff.
Yeah. Like, remember how a lot of people said that Dark Phoenix wasted its one F-bomb on a very random, casual line that
It did, yeah.
And then another one, even in his review, said, "Really? That's what we're wasting our one F-bomb on?" Okay.
Well, I guess it's definitely quite a climax having your final scene literally happen on Mount Rushmore.
You mean Mount
Richmore.
Richmore.
I've got you over the obvious green screen!
By the way, when it comes that guy who's fighting Cadbury right now, you guys talked about Michael Keaton. I actually think he looks more like a discount Malcolm McDowell.
Huh.
No, this is actually kind of tracking.
Well, shit.
Oh dear.
Now what are we gonna do?
He's overloading the laser. Hey, get it? 'Cause Culkin would be in a Michael Jackson music video. But yeah, no, it's because...
I think he was by this point.
You know, 'cause of the facelifts and all that, but still, though. Jesus, does that finally stop the dude?
That face he pulled as he got hit.
You know, for a moment I thought they were gonna actually have the dude get hanged.
I thought he was gonna fall to his death.
Yes! We can fire this guy. Technically, that was you who stopped the guy, but okay. Ooh.
Alright, time for some baseball.
And now Richie is one of the kids when it comes to baseball.
Indeed. Home run?
But hey, and now he finally has what he wants. The ability to be rich and be a normal kid.
Wait, so instead of firing him, they just made him
No,
a gardener?
They just demoted
No,
him
no,
to
no, no, no,
gardener?
no, 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 no. Look, they're wearing prison outfits.
Okay, Department of Corrections.
But they know about his past with the Riches, though, so why did they drag him over there?
My guess is the Riches wanted to have him do this for poetic justice.
He nearly killed them all.
Well, again, they want to get... That's probably their way of getting revenge by having him literally do the dirty work for them now.
And
We'll have him send him to a dumpster or somewhere and then watch it through TV.
And yeah, like...
Cadbury got together with Gloria's mom, even though they had exactly zero relationship development.
They had a few scenes, so hey! And that one bit where they flirted, so yeah, totally in love. But look at that, guys. Now Richie Rich has what he truly needed. He has friends.
Interesting.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, closes the door on Macaulay Culkin's child acting career.
The interesting thing is that I'm reading this. I don't see anything about Gloria having a mom in the strip.
I mean, was it like maybe a mom we could have just assumed was not shown in the comics, but she had her? Or like, was she actually stated to be an orphan in the comics?
In the comics, it doesn't. Okay, from what I'm reading here, it doesn't mention anything. I'm guessing she probably has a mom, but it doesn't seem like her family ever comes into play in any way, shape, or form. She's just Glory, and that's it.
I guess they decided to do it to give Cadbury a love interest.
Which is interesting, because so let me get this straight. Cadbury, who from what I can see here doesn't have any love interests, he gets one. But Rich, despite his designated love interest from the strips being here, they don't become a couple. How weird.
And were they saving that for the sequel or something?
Maybe. Who knows?
Well, regardless.
I wonder how the sequel was. Anyway, is there an after credits scene?
No, there is not.
No. So, final thoughts. Richie Rich. It's not very funny. There's meant to be a comedy. I could see Macaulay Culkin definitely looked like he was checking out the more the film progressed. The best part of the movie is that one joke with the guy going crazy in prison. And the tone is weird. You go from just, typical 90s jovial tone to having the guy nearly get hanged or strangled or fall to their death. And also, I'd be gassed.
Hey, keep in mind, the villain who legit shoots a kid on screen. Sure, he may have been wearing the bulletproof suit, but still, guy literally shot that kid in cold blood. And
hell, the I don't even know. It's just a weirdly paced, weirdly tonally inconsistent movie, and that's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say on it. It's just it's not a very good comedy, but honestly, it's not even a terrible movie. It's just really unremarkable and bizarre, which is the best. Which is more than I can say for North, which again came out the same year.
Going off of Culkin's performance, Jibs, do you think maybe he was feeling burnout and that's why this was his last film?
Yeah, which is funny because the character of Richie Rich is also suffering from burnout, just like Culkin. So, I guess that fits.
Anything else?
Nah, that's it. Richie Rich is just kind of Richie Rich, more like poorly poor. Yeah, my joke's on him.
Alright then. I guess I'll go next then. What a bizarre film this is. I'll admit, when I heard that this was the film that supposedly put an end to Culkin's child acting career, I thought, oh wow, this has got to be real bad. I definitely not heard nice things about this movie. I guess what makes it bizarre is, honestly, the first impressions I got weren't bad. They weren't amazing, but I'd say the movie starts off good enough in regards to showing, yep, it's certainly the comics brought to the silver screen. The issue is just that once you get it that, yes, this is a relatively faithful adaptation, it feels like it's nothing more. And when I say that, I mean in the sense where, yeah, it got stuff right from a comic made back in the 50s, wherein comics really, really did not have to have much story, and you can kind of see where the problem is, where you're just a relatively fine adaptation and nothing else. Okay, if it's off of a newer comic that's more intricate, me saying it's relatively a good adaptation is normally a good compliment. But again, and you know what, this isn't even to throw shade at older comics. Again, like Pedro noted, older comics, or heck, strips even to this day in general, don't have to do as much to garner the audience's attention as, say, a full-length movie does. A strip is something you can literally peruse just by looking at a newspaper or whatnot. 3 little squares and a bit of story. You can get some very good laughs out of that, and that will suffice for the time being. but a movie needs to keep you engaged for a good amount of time, and this one does not cut the mustard. Now, I will give it credit. For the most part, I feel like the actors are all definitely giving it their all. Like, they are taking this movie seriously, for better or for worse, and I can appreciate that. There are some good funny jokes, like the prison freak-out scene with the guy, or heck, even some jokes from Richie Rich himself. And again, kudos to the guy, the bad guy, who legit shoots a child, who challenges him to a duel saying, normally I would, but just this once, bang, bang, bang. Like, again, serious kudos. Like, they don't... Despite the movie's faults, it always feels like they're trying. That being said, just because you try doesn't mean you'll always succeed. And where this movie fails is just that, well, it kind of runs through with its concept and, well, by the second act feels like it's running on fumes. Yes, we do get some funny bits or some good jokes about how, Richie Rich actually does a good job running his parents' company. And then we get to some pretty dark stuff, like, yeah, they plan to have a guy get hung in his cell, Jesus. And yeah, there's the cold-blooded murder scenes. Oh yeah, the guy's willing to gas and atomize the children. Like, I feel like in a better constructed movie, all these scenes could have come together a lot better. But that's just it. And look, I would not call this movie bad. Like, I do think maybe some people were a little too harsh on the movie, but like I said, while I don't think it necessarily deserved to fail, I don't think it particularly deserved to succeed either. Like, this movie is probably the definition of average. Middle of the road, essentially. Like,
Yeah.
if you're a very big Richie Rich fan, I hope this is of good enjoyment to you. Otherwise, I guess this serves as a good entry point to Richie Rich? Question mark?
Apparently, no. Apparently, the Netflix show is better from what people are saying. That, and like I said, even though we're kind of assuming that it's faithful, Gloria, for whatever reason, and Rich are not an item, even though they're an item in the strip.
Yeah, there are still some weird changes, apparently. Like, at most I could say that this kind of got me interested in checking out Richie Rich, but look, you tried your best, and you failed. That doesn't mean you should never try, but maybe, just maybe this was a movie that could have used more thought put into it. Just saying.
Indeed.
Go on, Pedro.
As for me, yeah, it's just mediocre. It's a very mediocre 90s family movie. It's not even particularly, I mean, it's not boring. It's a perfectly breezy sit, but it's not particularly interesting either. How for as bad as they were, Milk Money and Blank Check, I will argue, have a lot more interesting stuff to talk about compared to something like this. Whereas this movie is just kind of a mediocre, typical 90s movie with all the trappings that come with it.
It's a Home Alone. It comes off a bit as a Home Alone knockoff, doesn't it?
Yeah, and not to the characters are bland. The jokes are not particularly funny. Except there's the occasional good joke here and there, but they're way too few and way too far in between. Not to mention the whole sexiest man alive joke is
yeah, like, I mean, it made I'm debating on whether or not that raises more red alarms than the Blank Check kissing scene or not.
No, I'm gonna say Blank Check raises more alarm because at least it's just a magazine saying he's sexy. In Blank Check, a little grown adult kisses a minor on the lips. That is worse.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Aside from that, because the plot is so average and comes across as just an excuse for things to happen. The only other thing that could have carried this movie was the comedy, but the comedy is way too mediocre to do that. As a result, the movie is just a very mediocre experience. And that's it, really. Like the production values aren't particularly impressive. Alan Silvestri's music is fine, but definitely not his best.
When did he get his big break, I wonder?
Back to the Future. Like, it was Back
Oh,
to the Future.
right! He did do Back to the Future. Shoot, so I'm not sure what was going through his mind with this one. I mean, it's not bad music, per se. It's just...
To his credit, like, it's kind of hard to be inspired when this is the material you're given, because this movie is so mediocre.
You know what, to be fair, like... And it's not like Richie Rich had, like, a big... theme to it or whatnot. Like, again, I guess
I think the cartoon had, but I haven't seen it in a long time.
Like, I mean, I wouldn't even, again, like the movie itself, I wouldn't even call the music bad. I guess it's just fitting for each scenario.
Yep.
Anything else?
No, there's very little to say about this movie. Like I've said, Blank Check and Milk Money would have made far more interesting commentaries, because those movies definitely have a lot to talk about.
I guess just the main reason I'm surprised is like, well, again, for what ended the juggernaut that was Culkin's career, I would expect something more horrendous, and maybe it was considered horrendous given how it seems that most critics were not particularly kind to Richie Rich, but again, I was expecting something like actively terrible like North, honestly.
Yeah, no. Well, remember, North didn't destroy Elijah Wood's career.
I know, that's the amazing thing, honestly. Like, North was a way worse movie, but if anything, that was a springboard for Elijah Wood's career, whereas with Culkin...
Ironically, it might have just been the Lord of the Rings trilogy, because where have we seen Elijah Wood in recently?
I know he was in Happy Feet, and hey, he co-starred with Culkin in The Good Son.
Yeah, that's another Culkin movie that would have been more interesting to talk about, because it's Macaulay Culkin trying to be an evil villain.
Yeah,
and it goes by just as well as you're imagining right now. So yeah, it's a mediocre movie. It's not even the worst of Culkin's movies, definitely. Like, it's just a very painfully average movie that is very little interesting things to talk about. So that's it, everybody. Who knows? Maybe next time we'll do The Good Son, or, like I said, Blank Check or Milk Money, if we're going to continue the whole 90s live-action comedies with child actors. We'll see how things go, so see ya.
Alright, see ya.